Chapter 7. E2 Base. 3 more days of slowly increasing sales. Everyone that wanted had a chance to go on a van run. The one thing that wasn't working was finding more staff. Plenty of people wanted to work with them, but none had a license, or like Cal, had ever driven a van before. We'll have to pay for people to get a license. One company is offering a 4-day course for 250 credits, Agatha said. Cal paused, but no one else offered a solution. I think Jeff should go out tomorrow and invite one family to move here, and then the next morning the man can go out and begin the course. We'll only have enough plastic for one at a time. We need to get this shop working to increase the turnover, Orbis said. Maybe look at that large hollow sign, even if you need to finance it. It'll push the sales up quickly using the staff we have now. We can use our movies on the sign, Kira said. People love our signs, Kyra added. Once we go that big, we'll have to open 24 hours. Cal's brow furrowed as he calculated the costs. 2 more families will do that, Orbis said as though the issue was easy to solve. Another pod of mixed auto kitchen bases will give a good assortment to sell to ships, Agatha said. Well, I better see about buying a large sign then. Cal, hoping his reluctance was not too evident in his voice. This morning, after the Sea Stallion had delivered the van to the bazaar parking field, the crew walked into the bazaar to price a large hollow sign. I know you're not keen, Mia said as she walked by his side, the twins running ahead insisting they knew the right place to look. More debt to repay, and the fear that once we go so public trouble will come after. We're not really set up well yet. Agreed to all, but I don't see you wanting to slow down either. That's the problem. I didn't want to say this, but I do think we need that extra ship to do this everyday work to leave us free. Hurry up, we found the place, Kyra had run back to pull Cal forward. They got the big ones too. The Planet Crusher 5000. That's the model for you, sir. Nearly as pushy as a real estate salesman, this man was ready to get a sale whatever it took. Your sign so gigantic it will be clearly seen from orbit and customers will swoop down to hand you their credits. Does it have the red arrows pointing down? Kyra asked, completely taken with the salesman's patter. Arrows. Does it have arrows? Let me demonstrate. Now picture this tiny sign and magnify it 1,000,000 times. See those arrows there? He was pointing to a small display sign. On the Planet Crusher 5000, those would be as wide as the bazaar itself. Eye-blindingly visible and very memorable. Do we need a permit to have something so big? Mia asked. A mere formality. A few minutes and it's done. Cost? Cal asked. For a business that will grow beyond belief with a sign like this, price is hardly an issue, and we can always offer a payment plan to ease you into being amongst that small group of super successful businesses. Actual number of credits. You need to understand you are dealing with the best and most reliable sign in the galaxy. The Planet Crusher 5000 is not one of those cheap copies from Rigel 12. No, sir. This is the king of the crop. Cal stepped back a pace and began to turn. 500. Why didn't you say? We'll take one right now. 1,000, the salesman smoothly continued. Our finance plan is very easy to manage. Would you like to check out the application, sir? It will only take a moment. Providing you can guarantee we get the permit to run it, Cal said. Half an hour of paperwork and several terminal calls later, and they had a permit to position the Planet Crusher 5000 sign on their land, along with an agreement to pay 500 credits per week for the next 5 years. They were also told the machine would be ready to collect from the freight office in an hour. We'll set it up, Kira said. Then we need to go up and see how it looks from orbit, Kyra added. You just want to put your picture out for everyone to see, Mia said, the girls snickering. I'm starting to feel like Orbis, Cal muttered. Just waiting for the debt collectors to get me. At least the sign box was big and heavy enough to justify part of its cost, and the twins insisted they get it back to their base immediately so they could start playing with it. When they landed right near the shop ship, Orbis was there too, as keen as the girls to make it work. At least there was a large manual with the machine, that the twins quickly skimmed through before pressing the big start button. There were a series of test and example programs that showed what the sign could do, and it did look good from the ground. Then the twins worked on their own program, with plenty of suggestions from Orbis and everyone else, while Cal and Mia went to pick up the van and bring it back for the day. Back at the base, there were even more helpers around the sign, so Cal had a chance to look over the shop alone. The issue he saw was space. They had too much of it. Too much space made the stock they did have look tiny. Not to say they had a lot of stock, but this expanse hid it. The only solution he thought was to move more of the empty pods to fill the space. Use them to form a wall to reduce the area, and no one would know most of the pods were empty. He had added 3 more pods to the shop before anyone noticed. At least if the sign bought customers now, it would look like they were more prosperous than they were. While he was working, he thought of his next move. The balance of the credits they had available to spend was about 8,000, enough for 3 pods full. They'd gambled big so far, and it seemed to be working. Why not a little more? He went to Agatha. An order for 2 pods right now. Mainly a wide range of bases and whatever produce we need. Fill the shop. With stock we have a good chance of selling quickly. You work an order and I'll load the empty pods. There was no way the twins were leaving their work on the sign, so Cal loaded 2 empty pods into the Sea Stallion himself, then told Mia the plan. The ship was in the air before Agatha had messaged the order. It did mean a longer wait at the pickup, and a late arrival back at base, but they needed it done now to be rested ready to move the van again in the morning. With a pod each they were entering the packing shed on Victoria Lake 3 when a man smartly strode toward them. Still packing your order? Still time to add the orange nettle pears. I see you didn't order them. Can't remember ever trying them, Cal said, turning to see Mia shaking her head. Sweet orange taste with a kick of spice. A special of this planet only. They'll sell like hot duck-eye berries. Any spare space on our pods for them? Cal asked. I can use it all up for you, sir. You won't regret it. The man was gone, leaving Cal and Mia to keep pushing their pods further inside the building. We do need to keep coming on these trips, Cal said. We'll miss much if we send others. I haven't tried duck-eye berries either, Mia said distantly. Their 2 pods had begun packing while Cal and Mia sat in the waiting area. Cal was drowsing when a message beeped on his terminal. Problems with buying the ship. Please call Ginny. After Mia read the text, he called and was quickly answered. The pair had found a ship they loved and got the owner down to the agreed price, then packing their belongings and using their savings, they'd taken a passenger ship to go to the pickup planet where the owner suddenly refused the deal, saying he wanted double now. Cal was now fully awake. First thing to say is we will make sure you are not stranded there. Second, I want you to message me the details of the ship so I can call and try from this end. Then third, begin looking for other ships you like that we might be able to get. Do you have somewhere to stay for another day? They did. It might be a couple of hours, but I will get back to you as soon as I can. When the ship details came through, Cal showed it to Mia, and she studied the images and data carefully. I can see why Ginny liked it. Big freight hold, but still looking like a smaller ship in the crew area. Compact controls so an engineer not necessary, and not that old that it's out of date. She's chosen well. So we should try to get it then. Mia nodded. Do you know how to activate the extra scanners? Mia shook her head. We'll have to wait till we get back then. You got a plan? Want to look at the ship's past tracks, see if there is something we can use. Need to practice being like Orbis. All the trip back, Cal's mind was racing. That was until they dropped out of ether space and into orbit around Grand Bazaar. Look at that, Mia called. Even from his captain's seat he saw the twins' heads in the front window. Stallion Produce. Now open. the text circling their necks while the girls were munching a large slice of snake melon. Below them a line of red arrows to the ground. They'll be asking to come for a ride to see. I suppose we'll be their first customer, Cal said. Even I could follow that course. I'm not sure we're allowed to project it this far into space, Mia said. I better check the details of that sign permit. That pair only know one setting, Cal mumbled. They landed the Sea Stallion near the shop and Cal opened the freight ramp ready to unload the 2 full pods. Does our sign look good from orbit? Kira yelled to Cal. Is it supposed to be right inside the ship window? We might have to adjust the setting, Kira said, not quite as loudly. Others were coming to move the pods, leaving Cal to go close to the twins. Secret work in the control room, he whispered, then loudly to all. There are some new orange nettle pears in the pods to try. With the others busy trying new fruits, Cal got the twins to look up this new ship on the extended scanner. SG-6688-1. Just a number in a fleet, no name for this spaceship. It's a Class 82 freighter, Kira said. But it's covered with yellow flags, Kira added. Can you put it on the main screen? Cal asked. The more he read, the happier he became. Time for us to buy a ship, he said loudly, keying a call in his terminal. Cal from Stallion Lines, he said when the call connected. Calling about a ship 2 of my crew were buying for me. A Class 82 freighter, I believe. The man in the screen looked like he had just come from a high-power business meeting. Something about you wanting to increase the price once the deal had been done. Is that right? No deal is ever done until the payment is handed over. Increasing a price from an agreed 300,000 to 2 million and inconveniencing me and my crew is just not done by reasonable people. It made me look a little deeper into that ship to see what was so special about it. It's a great ship. Worth at least 2 million. Really double that. Apart from the power rods being nearly empty and the thrusters being worn out and the ship needing at least a 5 million credit service, it does indeed look like it could be a great ship. That was until I looked a little deeper and I saw all the yellow flags plastered all over it. Monitor for illegal transport, it said, then there are a list of flagged visits to Rigel 12. Then a memo about a Proctor John that I haven't yet looked into. The man in Cal's screen was looking pale. Then even more visits to Rigel 12. Engineers. Please check the ship's path to Rigel 12. See where they're landing. There's no need to check, the man said in the terminal. This has all been a terrible mistake. I thought you were someone else. I have the landing site, Kira said loudly. Main screen please, Cal said. I'll call your people now and get the sale happening immediately. It's a bare area, Kira said. No sign of vehicles delivering freight, Kira added. Unless they walked there, Mia said softly. I'm not sure I want to own a ship that's been handling human cargo, Cal said. I don't need that sort of attention to my business. You have to have it. Your people made the deal and it's been agreed. Your crew will be taking this ship away today. And the call was cut off. I think we've just bought a ship, Cal said, the others silent. One thing we are going to do immediately is change its name. I'm thinking Ginny's Stallion. That flag will follow it, Mia said. The name and owner change will help, Cal said. And we'll make sure that ship never goes to Rigel 12. Now I want to try one of these new pears. Ginny called while the crew were inspecting the new fruit. I don't know what you did, but that owner now wants to sell so quick he's even sending a car to pick us up. Make sure you give that ship a very thorough going over before you leave this planet, Cal said. Make certain it's all safe to fly. We always do. See you soon. These pears are our next favorite fruit, Kira said once she'd bitten into one. We need to add them to our signs, Kira added. Speaking about signs, Cal said. Mia's checking. Mia's checked and the permit says nothing about height, Mia said. So I suppose every ship in orbit is going to get 2 girls' faces plastered in their front window. Back window if they're going retrograde, Kira said grinning. And someone is going to be awake all night in case we get a customer, Cal said. No customers during the night. The Sea Stallion doing the morning run to the bazaar parking area with the van, then back to base to see a new freighter parked and a happy captain and pilot waiting. I can't believe you managed to get this great ship, Ginny said, keeping her distance from Cal. That man was desperate we took this ship. He almost seemed frightened of us, her husband said, keeping behind her. Should we ask how you swung it? I just reminded him how much he wanted to sell it, and how our offer was the best he was going to get, Cal said, the others silent. Any trouble with the ship? Nothing we found, Ginny said, turning to glance at her man. My engineers will have a good look over the ship, Cal said. They'll make sure it's good, and now I need a decision about your accommodation. This ship, the liner with the others, or a mixture of both? Before you say, if you choose this ship, you'll be stuck doing the morning and evening runs with the vans until we get another ship and crew. The only space work will be to close places in the time between. What did you mean about both? The captain asked. Have an apartment here, so you can be with the others, and a home in the ship when you need that. You can always change any time. The ship, Ginny said. Like you. We'll try to get things to make it nice for you, Mia said. And you? Cal asked gently. You had trouble with your old job. As soon as we said we were thinking of leaving, the boss fired us. Just there and then, the captain said. Still owes us too, Ginny said. That's why we got caught on that planet. All the credits we had were gone in transport. Unfortunately we're in the same position, Cal said. Right this moment we have only enough for one pod of produce. It has to improve quickly, but we'll have to push to get more work to keep the credits coming through. At least we have plenty of food, and you have a home, and we should have another van in a couple of days. The vans are doing well. We saw your huge sign, the captain said. Has brought no sales yet, and the first payment is in 6 more days. I'll introduce you to Mr. Slee and his daughter Agatha, they're organizing the jobs. With 2 ships flying we might be able to double the income. The ship name? Mia prompted. We need to change it, Cal said. Ginny's Stallion is my first suggestion, if you approve. I won't be able to leave, Ginny said grinning. Unless we get a brand new one for you, Cal said. Now we better go and make sure those girls aren't dismantling your home. Once they start, they don't like to stop. I'll watch them, Mia said. You sort out that new freight. Alone, Cal sought out Orbis for advice. Wages for the crew, Cal said. I feel we need to begin paying the crew something, even if it's only 1 credit. Everyone has been working so hard. Your heart is in the right place, lad, Orbis said softly, then paused. Part of me wants to tell you to wait some more. Wait until you have more coming in. Credits we're getting now are all going out quicker than they're coming in, Cal said. But I still feel I need to at least attempt to show how much we appreciate the help everyone is making. A quiet word to your money expert, the one I still can't really understand. And maybe his daughter, Orbis added. The one who wants your job, Cal said. She'll never be as good a rogue as me. We'll talk to them together, Cal said. Both Mr. Slee and Agatha were in the liner control room, the room turned into the hub of the business. The ship's screens now showing financial and ordering details and the rear wall covered with a large map of the whole city of Grand Bazaar. We're talking about how we begin paying our staff some form of wages, Cal said. I know we didn't promise that, but people would feel better knowing they have even a little spare money in their hands for all their hard work. Mr. Slee was nodding and Agatha said, generous, but I agree, even though the financial situation is not good. The cost of the sign loan and 2 license courses will use up all the income from the van. 1 license, Orbis said. Then 1 next week. Buying new stock. Enough for 1 pod, Cal said. But we do have an extra ship now, so if we get any work we can do it. Would you like me to make up a proposal to give you once we've gone over the figures again? Cal nodded. And I need to know how much to change the name of this new ship. It comes with a bad history I need to lose. Change of name and owner is 250. Office in the bazaar, Agatha said instantly. I'll prepare the paperwork. What name? Ginny's Stallion. Still no sign of the others, so Cal wandered back to the new ship to see them all in a huddle around the main console. Kyra's trying to get the voice control working, Mia said when she finally acknowledged him. On the closest screen was a menu being worked on by 3 different hands together, all fighting for the selections. It's Ginny's ship, Cal said. But she doesn't know about technical things like this, Kyra said. Cal decided it best he checked out the rest of the ship himself, but found Ginny's husband behind him. You don't know about technical things either, Cal said. I do know it's a great ship for a low price, and the look on the face of that man we bought it from. Murky history, Cal said. Think it best we don't probe too much and change the name even quicker. This will be a nice home too. You can add whatever you like to the kitchen from our stocks. You were saying we need to carry 6 fans. I think they will fit with ease, Cal said as they wandered slowly over the large hold. But that will mean at least a dozen workers in the control room. Need to keep your private rooms closed. Not much we need to keep private about. Feel the same, but sometimes it's nice to have a small area just for yourself. All staff to the control room. The message came through the system's speakers sent by one of the twins pretending to be official. The girls have activated the ship's security system, Mia said to Cal when the 2 men came into the control room. It's still saying there is a person, Kyra said, bending over the main screen. It's working perfectly, Kyra said, her head into the interior of the back of the console. You go to the hold and do what we say, Kyra said to Cal. Move slow so we can track you. Cal followed instructions, slowly walking out the control room and through the corridor toward the freight hold, while he heard voices telling him where he was. Entering the freight hold now. We got you. Keep going ahead to the middle. He did as instructed. In the middle now. Left 2 paces. Back 1 pace. He did as he was asked. Stay there. That was easy, and then he had Kyra by his side. Can you see me too? I see you too, but he's standing in the right place. 3 now. Cal saw Kyra looking around and up and down. He'd already done the same and seen nothing out of place. Then Kyra fixed her sight on the floor and she called out, you can come and help too. The access duct, she whispered to Cal, pointing along the floor to an access hatch near the corridor doorway. As the others poured into the hold, she silently pointed to the hatch and Kyra raced to lift the access point. Cal joined the rest around the opened access point, peering down into the duct that ran along the length of the ship, the duct high enough to easily kneel along. Wait till I get a blaster, he said. I can see, Kyra said. You can come out. We won't hurt you. Then to everyone else, it's a girl. She's coming. Stowaway, Ginny said. Never had a stowaway before. Cal glanced over to Ginny, but stayed silent. Now Kyra had her head out of the duct and another head, of black hair this time, was taking her place, while Kyra had a hand out to help the person out of the duct. It was a girl. Unnamed grey uniform and looking to be maybe late teens, her eyes darting around at the group surrounding her. What's your name? Kyra asked gently. Sue, the girl said confidently. I didn't want to cause trouble. All I wanted was to get away. Please don't take me back. I'll do almost anything. You don't look like bad people. Maybe you'll know where I can go. How long you been on this ship? Ginny asked while Cal was deciding what to do. 2 stops back. Rigel 12, Cal said. You can't send me back there. You can't. We're not sending you anywhere, Mia said. Are we? She added firmly. Some of us are taking her inside with the others to decide what everyone else thinks, Cal said, and some are staying here to finish checking this ship in case we need to use it quickly. And this duct needs to be checked too. We didn't know, Ginny's husband said to Cal while the women decided who was doing what. Not your fault, Cal said. Anyhow, she'll have a life here within the hour. I only need to be sure there are no more surprises in this ship. Within 5 minutes, only Cal and the twins were in the new ship. Both you did a great job finding that stowaway. This security system in this ship made it easy, Kira said. But you made it work and knew what it said, Cal said. All credit to you. We're having more trouble unlocking the voice command module, Kira said. These modern ciphers can be difficult, Kira added as she entered commands into a screen. They were still working at unlocking the module when Mia returned with information. She had been in a forced labor camp in a factory, and escaped when this ship was dropping a load of captives for the factory. She was sneaking into the kitchen when the ship was empty. Agatha has already found her an apartment and I think she wants to help in the shop. That was quick, Cal said. Quicker than this code, Kira muttered. I know you will find it, Mia said. Even though Ginny doesn't really need voice command. It had been an hour and still the voice module hadn't been unlocked. Cal knew because he noted the time of their first visitor, a medium-size freighter settling down right alongside Ginny's Stallion. All out to help our first customer, he said. The code can wait a little. 6 people came out the hatch of the visiting vessel, all stretching like they had just done a long-haul leg. The twins were first to greet their customers, and as they got closer, one customer said, I've seen those 2 faces before. Munching melon, another said. Snake melon, Kira said. It's covered with red snake eyes, Kira added. They'll give you some new orange pears to try, Cal called out. When the group had entered the shop proper, other people were out and ready to help. Cal was sure the customers were totally overwhelmed while they were offered different fruit to sample and bases suggested for their auto kitchen. He also saw their stowaway in the background watching intently. Finally, it got down to pricing and that turned to ordering, and when that was complete, the total came to nearly 700 credits. It could have been even more if they had more of 2 different bases. Fortunately, Orbis had 2 manual handlers to stack the stock on and use their hover pads to easily move the stock to the customer's ship. As the customers flew off, those on the ground let out a cheer. Quick change of plans, Cal said as the cheering subsided. An order prepared for 1 pod from Victoria Lake 3, to restock bases and to add duck eye berries and whatever you think. We'll take 3 pods and leave 2 empties there. But right now, we'll take both ships to the bazaar and wait for the van to return, then while the van comes back here, we'll go and collect this pod. We haven't finished the speech module, Kira said. Tomorrow, Cal said. You'll be fresh then. Right now we need stock in case we get another ship with a big order. When had the girls fully followed his instructions? The twins were back working in the new ship while he worked alone at moving 3 empty pods into the Sea Stallion. He was finished and still no one else was in the ship. Nothing else to do but join them in Ginny's Stallion. I've never flown a ship with speech control, Ginny said. It's not as exciting as it sounds, Mia said. Just a voice telling you what you already know. Might be handy since we don't have an engineer. That's true, Mia said. I always flew with an engineer, so it was like being told double. Not sure how good this version is though. I think it's time we took off, Cal said. One more try, Kira said. Last one, we promise. Cal counted 3 more attempts, but they did stop trying and replaced the access panels on the console. At least we got the security system activated, Kira said. The 2 ships took the trip to the far end of the bazaar parking area, the ramp of Ginny's ship down ready for the van to drive in. The twins went back to trying to explore the new ship's systems while they waited, and Cal explained what was involved in handling freight to and from the bazaar. When the bright orange van was spotted, there were plenty of hands pointing it toward the new big ship, then far too much advice on how it should be loaded. Inside the van were an extra family. They're coming for the night to see if they like it here, Jeff said. They were a couple with a young girl and one on the way. The van easily fitted into the hold, and passengers were ushered forward to the control room where two excited girls were poking the screen while a woman's voice spoke details of the ship's operation. "We got it," Kira said. "We've nearly finished setting it up," Kyra added. "Then we'll show you the controls." Cal resigned himself to a long wait and he was not disappointed, at least it gave time to have a talk to the new family. They were desperate for a secure life for their growing family and the prospect of having access to a medic had sealed the deal. Freight ramp secured. All power at 100%. Shields ready for use. Caution main hatch open, a female voice filled the room. "We can go now," Kira said to Cal. Caution main hatch open. "That's why no one wanted that option turned on," Cal muttered. Caution main hatch open. "We're going," Cal said loudly. "See you in a couple of hours." Caution main hatch open. Cal watched Ginny's Stallion lift off for the hop to their base, before they took off for the longer trip to Victoria Lake 3. At the twins' suggestion, their route was extended to allow for an orbit over their base so the girls could see the image of their heads on their sign. Then the trip to Victoria Lake 3, where the 3 empty pods were pushed into the warehouse, and then the wait while one was filled with their order. The large hollow sign was inspected again on the return trip, and then the Sea Stallion landed alongside Ginny's Stallion. Agatha was bustling forward when Cal and the women pushed the full pod into the shop. "There's been 2 ships since you left, both buying bases for their kitchens and some fresh for the crew. But that's not all. We've been getting orders from diners, 6 so far, and all wanting E2 base. We've only got 2 boxes left. All wanting the same one," Cal said. "We use a lot of E2, Kyra said. "My guess is they are short, and their supplier is slow in supplying. Be a good chance to show we can supply and get more of their business." Cal looked at Mia, it was she who would be doing the flying. "Are there enough credits to pay for a pod?" Agatha paused a moment. "If you come to the control room, I'll check with you." Cal followed Agatha away from the shop and into the liner. "I didn't want everyone to know," she said as they walked up to the control room. "With the credits in the account now and some of the plastic, we can pay for a full pod of E2 base, but there would not be enough to pay for licenses, ship name change and sign payment. But we'll get some back from the diners and the van sales tomorrow," Cal said. "And maybe more shop sales too." "Helping I being maybe," Mr. Slee interrupted. "Job getting before. 6 pods. 400 only. Picking up one place only. We send the other ship to that pickup and everyone will be too busy to remember about licenses and such," Cal said softly. "Place the order and I'll get the others ready for a long night." Now it was back to work. First to find Ginny and her man to tell them they had their first space job after they dropped the van in the morning. At least they seemed excited. Then, pockets stuffed with plastic, he had to convince Mia to do another trip back to Victoria Lake 3 for another load. "Ginny's doing all the other work tomorrow so we can all rest up then." At least the trip was quicker than the previous one, less time needed to check the hollow signs. Late and all tired when that pod was finally pushed into the shop to see Agatha's son and Sue, the stowaway, manning the shop. "Mom said to tell you she now has 8 orders for that base," the son said. "I think I'll put a few extras in the van in case." Cal's idea of a good rest didn't eventuate as he planned. First it was getting up to help with the packing. Then some wanted to check the van loading on the new ship. Then there were last-minute instructions to the crew, and even Mr. Slee telling how to process the freight pod transaction using the portable terminal. And when Ginny's Stallion had gone, there was constant worry about how things had gone and whether they should go and check in case something was wrong. When Cal gave up trying to sleep, he talked to the pregnant wife of their newest recruit as she wandered around the shop. She seemed delighted with being there and keen to help with the work around the shop. "Easy to work around the kids," she said. "Won't miss our old place one little bit." Orbis was wandering around keen for a talk. Been thinking, he said, when Cal found him alone. To make it easier to pack those packs, we make a round table with a slow motor turning it around and stack all the produce around the edge. Then one person can sit down and the products will come to them, and they take one from each as it pass. We'll need something like that soon before you have 6 vans to fill. Can you make it? Might need some bits from a wreck or two. Cal caught Orbis's eyes and knew. Might need a professor to make it work. Message him on my terminal and we'll see how long. He said 6 weeks before, Orbis said as he typed. Would be 5 by now, but that's still a long time. Maybe some student might complain again. I'm being careful, Orbis said. Still need to be dead for at least a year. No immediate reply to the message, but it had Cal thinking. You're right again. 6 vans could be up to 2,000 packs a day. Might even need a machine to pack it all. No. Kids and wives all looking for something to do while they gossip. Just got to make it so it's easy for them, and they'll natter while they work and not even notice the work. Cal chuckled. Only an old rogue would come up with an idea like that. I've heard you're getting to be a bit of a rogue yourself. That ship. Using whatever I could to make the deal, Cal said. That's what I said, Orbis added. Ideal time to get you in the medic, before we get busy. Jeff's lad first. You first. Him next. By mid-afternoon, Orbis was recovering from a long session clearing his cancer. Jeff's son was doing the same after a major treatment on his deformed legs, and the pregnant woman had been given a check over and was delightedly telling anyone that would listen that she was expecting a son. We saw the baby's man parts first, Assistant Nurse Kyra said. Amongst that work, 2 more ships visited to check out the shop. One bought a couple of bases, and the other was mainly checking prices, and bought nothing. Cal was keeping close, only listening, and while the first customers seemed genuine, the second lot were very suspect. Sly glances between them and whispered comments. He was left in no doubt that this visit was to check them out. That large sign had brought attention he did not want. The return of the ship and van was the next excitement, and hardly had Ginny's Stallion landed and there was another ship landing alongside. The unloading of the van that was loaded with the new family's possessions coinciding with a group of 3 strangers looking through the shop. Cal was trying to pay attention to both groups, but his ears pricked when he heard the customers asking for E2 base, as much as they had. Then he heard Agatha saying they needed to keep some for orders and the customers raising their voices and insisting. It's theirs if they want, Cal called. First with the payment gets the goods. Might have a couple of boxes in the van too. That had the customers smiling and Agatha looking distressed, but it made Cal sure he knew what was happening. He had to stay silent until every box of E2 base had been loaded up and paid for, and that ship had driven off before he could explain. They're trying to break us. Someone has asked the diners to order from us. Then they've sent ships to buy us out, making it seem like there is a huge demand for E2, all to make us go out and buy more than we can afford. Then they'll stop buying and we have all our money locked in stock we can't sell, and no credits to buy what we do need. They're trying to break us before we get any bigger. But it could just be that they're short of the stock, Jeff said. No, Agatha said thoughtfully. I think Cal could be right. If we play this carefully, we'll win, Cal said. We'll go now and only get 1 pod of E2. We won't be greedy. We'll supply the orders that will keep coming this evening and have some to sell to ships, and when that's gone we'll get another one. We're making profit from every box, so providing we tread carefully, they're really helping us. I'll go and use their credits to order and pay for another pod, Agatha said. And we'll go for a little trip with an empty pod, Cal said. Orbis was still recovering in the spare room of the Sea Stallion when the crew set off to Victoria Lake 3. It was an easy trip and he seemed fine, still dozing there after his treatment. The twins and Cal did the podchagy over while Mia fussed over their patient. On the trip back Orbis recovered enough to join them in the control room and the twins insisted Mia drive so he got a good look at their sign. Add to your sign that it's free parking with friendly service, he suggested. I've been thinking we should look at installing lights over the landing area for those that come during the night, Cal said. Leave it to me. I'll work something tomorrow. Back on the ground, and the full pod pushed into the shop, Agatha was back with information. 16 boxes ordered for diners. Some ordering 2 boxes. I'll hide 20 boxes in the van and wait for some ships to come and buy the rest. They will come soon, I'm sure they're tracking our ships. It only took 10 minutes before a runabout arrived looking for E2 base, all they had. Mia was close and saw the deal. Maybe we could spare those in the van, she said loudly, grinning at Cal. We can only sell them once. All the pod's contents were sold. There was no doubt what was happening now, they were definitely being set up for a fall. Deal done and credits paid, Agatha was ready to place another order. Another pod, Cal said. And now we can look for another family to join the crew and see about paying for driving licenses for 2 new men. I can pay the sign payment too, Agatha said. Cal nodded. If we can keep this going a few more days, we might be tired, but we'll be set up much better. Mia used every shortcut she could to make this a quick trip. The biggest delay was at their pickup point. Since they had empty pods already there, one was already full of their order, but the store man at the warehouse had a message. Boss wants to see you. Over there in that cubicle. Cal and the twins went toward the cubicle and the boss came out to see them. Seen your orders and think there might be a problem. I think we're being set up to fail, Cal said. So we're being very cautious. Was going to tell you that. Seen it before with new players. The established groups fight hard. I can help you a little if you like. I'm interested. They'll be trying to build you up to dump on you. Make you spend all your capital, so you're doing the right thing now, but I can save you a few trips. I'm willing to send you another pod full now, but locked with a password I set. If you need the goods, you send the payment and I'll send the unlocking password. If you don't need the stock, then bring it back. No cost and no penalty. Cal hardly needed to think. Great idea. We're in. I'll get my men loading. You having spare pods is always handy. When the 2 full pods were finally loaded, Cal told Mia about the deal. I like that deal, she said. We'll make them suffer. No ship following them home this time, and Cal took the pods out of the Sea Stallion, the locked one to one side, and 20 boxes of the other stacked in the van, the balance open ready for sale. Then he found Agatha and told her about the deal. She'd already received the potential invoice and knew exactly what to do. At last it was rest time, except a message came from specialist produce handlers saying the second van was ready whenever they wanted to collect it. Tomorrow, Cal mumbled. Out of ether space and heading towards specialist produce handlers, Cal's terminal beeped with a held message to call Agatha. He called while they were flying down from orbit. I've had to use that locked pod of E2 and orders are coming in for more. And for what it's worth, customers are saying there is a real shortage of other brands. Do we have enough credits for 2 pods? Just. I think it might be worth the risk. Do you want to see if Ginny will have enough time to do a run now? Otherwise, I'll have 2 empty pods on board when I leave here. If you don't hear from me, Ginny can do it. You taking the risk, Mia said as they slowly descended toward the landing area. Having this second van is making me think we'll have enough business even if we get caught. We have the staff to have this van making credits tomorrow. We'll have to do our sign first, Kira said. We've got some new ideas too, Kyra added. Whatever the real story, we're actually quickly increasing our business. I think we'll survive. On the ground at Specialist Produce Handlers, number 2 van was quickly taken out and driven into the Sea Stallion's hold. Cal also asked for 2 more of the new pods, and the whole pickup was done and locked in half an hour. Hearing nothing back from Agatha, they set course for home and settled down for the long trip. Their usual landing place was already occupied by 2 strange ships, So while Mia was keen to unload the van and the twins were fighting to reprogram the van's holosign, it was left to Cal alone to go to the shop to get the information. Both ships were waiting for E2, wanting a pod each, and Ginny was expected any moment. He knew his next move, and so found 2 empty pods and added them to 2 already on the Sea Stallion. It was going to be another long, but profitable day. By the time he was able to look to sleep, the new van had a twin-approved sign and there were 2 full pods of E2 base in the shop. In the liner, there was another new family settling in, this time with 3 children, and 2 husbands had been booked for their first day of driver training tomorrow. The Sea Stallion Book 2. The Base at Grand Bazaar. A Space Adventure. By Mystic Alchemist. Copyright 2024 Mystic Alchemist. All rights reserved. Written in Australian English. This book is a work of fiction. Names, characters, places and incidents are either a product of the author's imagination or are used fictitiously. Any resemblance to actual people living or dead, events or locales is purely coincidental. Cover and text written and assembled by hand without use of artificial intelligence.